Welcome to Medical Experts in Football. I'm Tyrone, your host. Sit back and hear how one Australian physical therapist balances three different jobs. He's a clinic director, PT for the Australian Women's Soccer League, and he's a semi-professional athlete. I mean, come on, guys. But before we talk sports and medicine, let's learn some history about the blunt Australians. I have the pleasure to welcome you, Mitchell Stamatellis. How are you? How is the weather in Australia? Because it's getting warmer in the States, but it's actually getting cooler there, right?
Yeah, it is. It's not been too bad, but it's just started raining today, but it's a little sun shower. So the sun's still out, but there's a little bit of like light drizzle. It's not too bad. But it is getting a little bit cooler, but our cold is like maybe 15, 20 degrees. So
you can wear like a light sweater.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I heard that Australians have a unique sense of humor and at times can be dark. How would you describe an Australian's humor?
Probably very crude at times, maybe sometimes blunt. But yeah, we've got a few sayings that probably don't make sense.
Can you tell me?
For some other people. Like I guess a common one is like put a shrimp on the barbie or stick a fork in it, I'm done. Say you're tired, you've just, done a fitness session. You might go, stick a fork in me, I'm done.
Okay.
But that's
I've heard that one though. That's not terrible.
Yeah. So there's a couple like that. But with modern technology and travel and everything like that, I guess the world is getting to know Australians a little bit more. We're not so isolated anymore. So
not at all.
Those sayings are a little bit more common now.
Why do you think Australians can be so blunt?
I don't know. It's a good question. We just get to the point. We don't really, fart ass around, I guess.
Yeah. I like that because I'm a very blunt person, so I'd be able to hang with you guys. Well, if one is to travel to Australia, what is one animal they should see?
I do like koalas. I think koalas are pretty cute. They've got some serious claws on them, but they're generally pretty cute. So I reckon koalas.
So they have claws on them? Like you don't actually carry them, do you?
You can, yeah, you can. They won't kind of swipe you, but it's mainly so they can climb trees. Yeah. So it's more a functional claw rather than an aggressive claw, I guess.
Okay. So are these koalas just roaming around the streets? I know this might sound stupid that I'm asking, but do you just see them out and about?
Not unless you're in like the bush.
Okay.
So in the cities, you won't really see them unless you go to like a zoo. But yeah, normally in the bush or on like islands and places like that where there's less civilization, I guess. Kangaroos you might see, not in the city, but if you go an hour and a half, a couple hours up or down the coast, you might see kangaroos kind of through golf courses and holiday parks and things like that. But koalas are a little bit more in denser kind of bushland, so you won't tend to see them in the wild.
Okay. Well, last question before we actually get to you. If someone is to travel to Australia, what are three cities they should see?
I'm from Sydney, so definitely Sydney. There's probably a little bit of bias there. But I think the weather's a little bit nicer. Sydney have beautiful beaches. So I live near Maroubra Beach, so I love going down to Maroubra. It's a little bit rougher, that beach, so there's a little bit of swell, there's some waves there, but there's some nice flat beaches there around Yarra Bay or Little Bay as well. Clovelly, you can snorkel, and Bondi. People love Bondi, but there's too many people there for me. But the city's beautiful, like going to Darling Harbour, Circular Quay, seeing the Opera House, the Harbour Bridge. We have a really, really nice harbour, and you can jump on a ferry from Circular Quay and go across to Taronga Zoo, see some koalas. So that's a nice way to see Sydney City as well. So definitely Sydney. I do like Melbourne as well. It is a little bit cooler in winter, but there's some nice cafes there. There's a nice little vibe down in Melbourne. Lots of things to do. Probably better like nightlife, better party life there. And then I guess not a city, but a place where I like to go on holidays is down the south coast to like Lake Conjola or Ulladulla, which is a little bit more relaxed and chilled out.
So I am so fascinated because you are currently playing as a semi-professional soccer player for Sydney Olympic, and then you're also the PT for Sydney FC.
Mhm.
How long have you been able to play soccer and be a PT? I mean, you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I'm at Rockdale now, actually. So
Oh, you're at Rockdale.
yeah, been there for the last couple of years, but still the same league, same competition,
Mhm.
but a little bit closer to home. I guess I've always been a busy guy growing up. I always played sport my whole life, played multiple sports,
Mhm.
always had training after school. Same thing with uni, training after uni. My weekends were always taken by sport on Saturday or Sunday or both. Um, so I've kind of grown up doing it, and I'm used to it. And I have a very understanding wife, which
Yeah.
and gives me the time to do what I want to do and what I'm passionate about. But I guess if you love what you do and you're passionate about it, then you find time and you just make it work. So I'm able to work in the clinic, in my own clinic, and which gives me the flexibility to obviously leave a little bit earlier if I have to go to training, or start a little bit later if the girls at Sydney have training in the morning.
Okay.
And then the soccer club, even though it is semi-professional, they're really understanding as well, and they're happy with me, making the girls at Sydney my priority in the off season, I guess. And our seasons cross over a little bit, and that's where they kind of let me kind of miss a session here or there if I've got to be at their training or their game.
Okay.
Yeah, so having people around you that are really understanding and surrounding yourself with good people, and also very understanding wife. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear about Sydney FC. So you started working with them in 2019. What even piqued your interest to work for a women's professional soccer team?
Yeah, I think the key there was I just wanted to get into like an elite sporting environment. So I didn't really have a preference either way, whether it was women's football or men's football. I guess fortunately for me and unfortunately for women's football in Australia, at the elite level, it's a part-time environment. So
Okay.
being in that part-time environment still allowed me to continue to work full-time in the clinic, and continue to play at a semi-professional level myself, whereas a men's role wouldn't have allowed me to do that, I guess. So I'd have to kind of quit my job or stop my business in the clinic and then go into a men's kind of position. So definitely the flexibility around that, a couple of morning sessions, a couple of evening sessions, and then a game on the weekend. So it worked out really well with my kind of personal life and my work life. So that's probably the main reason around it.
I see. So you said compared to the men's, the women's, they are part-time, but you
Yeah.
still may be helping with training in the morning and the evening. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it'll be on different days. So
Oh,
the
okay.
men, for example, will train every day at like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the morning, and then you'd have to do like your treatment after, your rehab after. It's a full-time role. Whereas the women on Mondays and Tuesdays, like I'd get up at 4:30 in the morning. I'd be at training at 5:30, for a 6:30 start, and then it'd be 6:30 till 8 a.m. or something like that, a couple of days. And then the girls, they also have to go to work because it's part-time. So
Right.
we do 2 morning sessions, and then Thursday, Friday, we'll do 2 evening sessions where I kind of leave work at 4, get there at 4:30, and the girls start training at 6, and they finish around 7:30, 8 o'clock. So yeah, when I say it's not the same day, I guess.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay. Well, what was the process like applying?
The coach of the team, the women's team, he knew me through playing football, and he asked me to come on board as well with the women. And then I had to go through an interview process with the head of the medical department at Sydney FC. So I just went through an interview with him. He asked me a few questions, went through a couple of case studies or ethical dilemmas that you might face.
Mhm.
And then, offered me the job a couple of days after that, which was good. So
Yeah. Did you have any hesitation before accepting it? It sounds like you just wanted to be in a professional setting.
yeah, I didn't at the time. I love it. I love it. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. It's the girls at Sydney FC. You've got access to everything that you need in a professional environment, all the equipment, all the supplies. Um, yeah, the girls are extremely professional. They're a great bunch. I love working with them.
That's awesome.
So it was a really, really easy decision to make. With a 4-month-old baby now, it's getting a little bit harder. So I would love to do it, but I've got some tough decisions to make going into next season. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, your team finished in the top of their league, but you all did lose in the final. What was the most exciting aspect about this past season?
Probably the last game of the season against Melbourne Victory. So at that point in the season, we were second, and Brisbane, I think, were top of the table, and Melbourne were third, and we had to play Melbourne in the last game, and whoever won that game would finish top. So it was kind of almost like a grand final itself. If Melbourne beat us, they would jump us and Brisbane and go top of the table. And then if we won or drew, then we would finish on top of the table.
That's tight.
And I think T, the captain, scoring, she doesn't score very often, but her scoring a free kick in that last round game to clinch the premiership was probably the most exciting thing this season. I think for the team as a whole to win the premiership for the first time in a while, but also for T herself, the captain. I think everyone was overjoyed, and that was probably the highlight of the season.
Yeah. Well, paint a picture for me what that free kick looked like.
So I guess if you're facing the goal, it was on the left-hand side, just outside the D, I guess, if you like. That's where Remy, the striker, got fouled. T stepped up to take the free kick. She'd been practicing them at training and practicing them from that position. So we were quietly confident. And then T hit it well, hit it just over the wall, away from the keeper, and the keeper couldn't get there, just went in the top corner. And yeah, she enjoyed the celebration.
Yeah. Typically when you're in season, you wake up early, you work with them, and then you go to your job, your clinic.
Yeah, so I'll go to the clinic at around 9:30. So I'll have my first patient 9:30 because I've got to travel from Macquarie, where the girls train, back to my clinic, and I'll probably work from around 9:30 till 6:30, and then I'll head home after that, or head to training if I have training. So Tuesday is probably my hardest day because Tuesday we train, so it's an early start, and then I end up getting home at like 9:30 p.m. after training.
And then what about the weekends? What are weekends like for you?
Yeah, so when our season crosses over with the W League season, if the girls are playing on Sunday, then we might train on the Saturday morning at Macquarie with the girls. So that'll be a morning session, and then I'll have a game on the Saturday night, and then the girls will have their game on the Sunday. So I'm probably away out from home around 8 a.m. and then I get back at like 12:30, and then I'm out again at 4 to go and play myself at 7, and then I get home at night.
Quick question: does your wife like soccer?
She doesn't mind it. She probably doesn't like it as much now.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, too much soccer going on for one weekend.
Yeah, it is a lot, but luckily that's only probably for a couple of months of the year.
Okay.
So in kind of our season finishes in August, September, and the girls start in around October. They start pre-season, and we might start pre-season in November. So it crosses over around November, December, and then again in January, Feb for a little bit. But then March through till September. Like now that the girls are in their off season, and I'm just playing myself. So it's a little bit easier now.
Well, when did you realize you wanted to become a physical therapist?
Probably when I was like around 12 or 13 years old. I got Sever's disease.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what? Can you talk a little bit about that? What is that condition?
So I guess Sever's disease is a traction apophysitis. So it's a growth-related condition that you'll typically see in adolescents that have a relatively high workload, participate in a lot of jumping or running sports. So in adolescence, they're obviously growing, and the growth plate is cartilaginous and soft, and the repetitive traction or pulling of that Achilles tendon on the growth plate causes it to get a little bit inflamed. It's typically a load-related condition. You can get it at the knee, you can get it at the hip. They have different names, but yeah, I had Severs in the heel and that's when I kind of had my first experience with a physiotherapist, and then from there, obviously playing sport, ongoing injuries, ankle sprains, and just being in that environment and getting better and seeing how rewarding that would be to be on the other end of that and be able to help other people is kind of what I guess inspired me to become a physio.
When you had severs, did you ever get to a point where you were symptom free, or did you spend many years playing and just trying to manage it?
No, kind of. I had it as any kid would, I guess, for 4 weeks, 6 weeks before doing anything about it. So I kind of just copped it on the chin for a little while there, and then got the appropriate advice from a physio, managed my load well. Kind of put some heel wedges in my shoes to offload my Achilles a little bit, and then within like 6 weeks or so, it started to resolve, and I didn't have any issues after that. So I think it was managed pretty well.
Okay, nice. Yeah. So I am curious, what is the process like to become a physical therapist in Australia? Because it seems you can practice as a PT with your bachelor's, and here in the States, we have to go get our bachelor's, get our doctorate. It's just a lot of money spent.
Yeah. So I guess there are two different ways to become a physiotherapist. So I did the bachelor degree, which is an undergraduate degree. So straight from high school, you do your high school certificate, you get a particular mark, and then if you get a certain mark, you can go into your undergraduate degree. At the moment, to get into physio, it's really, really hard. So you need to get 99 out of 100 to go to uni and become a physio. So a lot of people that don't get that mark then do a Bachelor of Health Science or a Bachelor of Exercise and Sports Science or Exercise Physiology. And then you can then finish that degree and go on to do a Masters of Physio, which is an extra year. So the undergraduate degree is 4 years at uni, whereas the health science or the undergraduate degree is 3 years, and then you do a 2-year Masters of Physio to become a physiotherapist.
Well, it sounds like you were smart enough to save money and do the quick route. That's pretty impressive. What was the most challenging aspect about PT school for you?
I would say it was the neural innovation of muscle tissue in anatomy, and the anatomy exams. So I think it's unlike any other exam you've done before. So it's relatively new. I don't know what happens over in the States, but here the degree for anatomy involves, I guess, or some assessments involve putting like little pins in cadavers, muscle tissue, or in neural tissue. And they won't be simple questions. So it won't be like a pin in the VMO and say, what muscle is this? Or what does, pin A innervate or something.
Oh, yeah.
So, they'll kind of try and trick you like that. And first anatomy exam was really difficult, but then the second one was a lot easier because I could prepare for it, knowing kind of what to expect. That was probably the most challenging thing. I think the workload was okay. The ability to balance like working part-time and going to uni was okay as well, but definitely the anatomy exam, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. What about when it comes to neural innervation, because you said that was challenging, just remembering what nerves innervate which muscles. What helped you memorize that? Because there are some students here that are just trying to get bits of advice from people that have been there, done that.
Mind maps, probably. I just did a lot of mind maps, a lot of revision, a lot of study, different colors, different colored pens. But I feel like if I write things down, then I take them in a little bit better. So I just did mind maps and just reviewed them regularly.
What do you think is something that helped you find success in PT school?
I think being passionate about it. I think if you really enjoy something and you're passionate about it, you'll put in that extra time and effort. And when you are attending lectures or tutes, you're actually taking that information in because you want to learn. I think that's the key. If you're passionate about anything, you'll be good at it, whether it's, going to physio or PT school, or whether it's, wanting to install an IKEA flat pack. Like, I think if you really enjoy physiotherapy and you're passionate about it, then that's what'll help you achieve success.
Cool. Now, as a clinic director, how do you like being able to split your time in really 3 different settings?
Yeah, I love the flexibility of it. I think it's good having a partner. I've got a really good business partner. So I started working under someone in a private practice, and then met my business partner there. So we'd known each other for 5 or 6 years before starting our own clinic together. And he's very understanding, very good physio, and a very good person. So having someone that you can trust to be there when you're not there as well is really important. So either a good partner or having good staff underneath you. But I really enjoy the flexibility of being able to take time off if I need to. If I want to go out for dinner on our anniversary or something like that, I can block out the afternoon.
Even though you're probably going to be playing a soccer match on your anniversary. Let's be honest.
Probably. But it's my first Mother's Day on Sunday, and I'm playing a soccer match.
You see, I know. Yep, that's it. So is it just the two of you all in that outpatient clinic?
There are 5 physios.
5 physios, okay.
That work, I guess, with us.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's 2 of us that manage it at the moment, but there are 5 of us. Yeah, so we have, I guess, people there at different times, and we're able to take time off here and there when necessary. And I know, because I don't have a very good work-life balance, I try and make sure that my staff do. So we don't want to make them, so they get a good work-life balance.
Okay. Now I am curious, because there are some PTs that say a couple years in, you might start to feel a little burnt out, get in the rut. Like, you practiced for 6 years. During those 6 years, did you ever feel like a little bored, like you needed something new?
I never really felt like that, to be honest with you. I guess private practice is really diverse. So you're always seeing different things, and you're always having to clinically reason. I might have a knee, then a back, then a shoulder, then a foot, then a back, then a knee, then a hip. When I got up in the morning, it wasn't like a drag going to work. But again, I think that comes down to being passionate about what you do and really enjoying it. I know at uni, they said the average physio lasts 6 years. Yeah, being able to break up the day with the sports physio as well with the girls is good.
For someone that wants to eventually become a clinic director, what tips can you provide when it comes to being able to manage other employees?
Yeah, I think that's tricky. When you're interviewing people, or when we interview people, we don't really look for the best clinician. We look for the best person, I guess. So you want to surround yourself with good people and build a good environment in the clinic. I think that's really important, because you can always kind of train a physiotherapist. We do weekly in-services and tutorials, and we want to be able to mold people to kind of treat in a similar way that we do. So I guess when you're interviewing people, looking for a good person rather than a great physio, you can't really change a person, but you can make them a better physio. So that's what we do in our clinic, and I think that's what's key to building a good environment and being able to manage staff well, because you get staff in there that are good people.
How could a clinician balance out maybe working for a professional team and being a clinic director?
Again, getting people that you can trust in that clinic when you're not there. So I can be a clinic director, kind of be with the girls at Sydney, and know that the clinic's in safe hands, know that there's someone there who's going to be able to manage it and look after it. And then if you don't want to do as much hands-on stuff, then you can do like full-time with that sporting team, and then you can do a couple of days where you're just doing in-services or mentoring and kind of going to your different clinics and liaising with the staff, making sure they're okay, asking if they have any questions about any patients, doing little one-on-one things like that. I think that's probably my long-term goal. At the moment, I'm still doing some hands-on physio in the clinic, but my long-term goal would probably be to get into that elite sporting environment in a more full-time capacity with that other time that I have going in and mentoring staff on the other days, but having good staff there that you can trust and rely on to run the clinic when you're not there.
Lastly, if there's a motto that you like to live by, what would that be?
Don't stress. I'm a very relaxed person. I'm never really stressed. So yeah, all right, don't stress, chill out, meditate if you want to meditate, breathe, relax. I'm listening to a good book at the moment called Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. So if anyone wants to listen to that, if they're stressed out, or if they feel they need some guidance as to how to kind of just slow down and relax. I think, yeah, that's really important, especially when you're in a fast-paced environment and there's a lot going on. Just not letting it get to you and kind of relaxing.
I like that. Don't stress, even though you work in a stressful environment day in, day out, but you mastered it. Well, Mitchell, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you, learn a little bit more about Australia, and just to kind of how you do it all, play soccer, be a clinician, a clinic director. And again, thank you so much for your time and just all the insights that you provided.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
And that was physical therapist Mitchell Stamatellis. And I'm Taiwo, your host on Medical Experts in Football. Did you enjoy? Rate and subscribe and tell me your thoughts.